Has Brad done it? From the unboxing experience to the craftsmanship, cutting performance and price, is this genuinely the complete package? Today, we're checking out a variant of the HandFab MK-1 Signature Bunka. We'll meet Brad, unbox the knife he sent over, try to figure out what on earth is this blade shape even, put it through a full round of food tests, and then finish with my nitpicks, final thoughts, and scores. Over to you, Brad.
Hello, I'm Brad and I'm the owner of HandFab. I'm a part-time business based in Scotland. I have been making kitchen knives now for just over a year. I do fully custom bespoke pieces and have recently designed and released a knife named the MK-1. The MK-1 comes in themed collections which go live every month, and I've recently released a more production style line named the Signature series. I decided to send Frankie a custom MK-1 to review, so I hope you like it. You can find me on Instagram at handfab, fab spelt with a 4, and you can find my website at handfab.co.uk. Thank you.
And before we dive in, if you enjoy detailed kitchen knife reviews and want to support the channel, subscribing would really help out a ton. There are very few unboxings that deliver the experience Brad delivered today. Triangular boxes are amongst the best shaped boxes for transporting a semi-delicate kitchen knife. They absorb impact extremely well. He also takes no chances letting the couriers know there is something delicate inside with the fragile tape. Then we have that cool expandable fishnet wrapping protecting the main contents, which are of course under another layer of security. Bubble wrap. A nice slim branded knife box. More fragile tape, nothing here feels accidental. Then a surprise note. Honestly, I don't think I've ever come across something so quirky. Look up. Okay, I'm looking up. Another note, here's a quid. Look after it. Now that is awesome. You could have simply tossed the coin into the box somewhere, toss a coin to your witcher, but instead the entire delivery method felt deliberate and intentional. This is the kind of detail-oriented insanity I absolutely love. And importantly, the attention to detail kept going. 2 cards, same logo, different textures. One rounded, one square. Again, next level. One card contains Brad's maker's information, including a knife photo and my favorite addition, a QR code. Makers, I will keep saying this. If you are not putting QR codes on your business cards to help people instantly find you online, you are doing yourself a disservice. The second card covers knife care, which is always useful because you never know who is going to receive your knife. Then we move from the fishnet wrapping to what I'm calling the burlap potato sack stage of the unboxing. 3 carefully tied knots for the finale. Alright, now we're getting somewhere moment. He took care packing the knife. I took care storing everything it came with. Nice branded blade guard. The handle immediately caught my eye despite being relatively low contrast. What grabbed me was the reflectivity of the facets. Yes, the materials are beautiful. Amboyna burl, fossilized mammoth, spacer, and end cap, but it was really the shaping and faceting work that stood out. Then the blade reveal. Wow. That is a nice Raindrop Damascus pattern on the beautifully etched 80 CRV2 core hardened to 61 HRC, and then we get to this shape. Scandinavian Seax, but not really. K-tip Kyoto, but also not really. Long bunka with an ultra aggressive K-tip. I jokingly floated the term pierce point bunka to Brad, and honestly, I kinda like it. Let me know in the comments, what would you call this shape? Either way, this belongs to Brad's MK-1 series. Normally, they are a little plainer visually, but this version shows how he can absolutely jazz things up if you want premium materials and aesthetics. And honestly, for what the knife is, I think the pricing is extremely fair. Amboyna burl, mammoth accents, Damascus, excellent fit and finish, the details matter, and Brad clearly understands that. For me personally, the unboxing experience gets a 9 out of 10. The fit and finish gets a 8.5 out of 10. But does it cut? Let's find out. When I asked Brad what he would cut first with this knife, he said tomato and potato in a Scottish accent. So naturally, tomato test, baby. He sharpened this knife to a 1K edge, but from the very first slice, it didn't quite feel as toothy as I expected from a typical 1K finish. Once the Roma tomato skin was pierced, I immediately noticed some resistance deeper into the cut, something to keep an eye on during the rest of the testing. The knife itself is definitely thin overall. First cuts on the red potato were smooth. Again, you can tell the blade is thin and the etched Damascus pattern actually helps reduce food suction just a little. But even here, I still felt like I needed more force behind the edge than I should have for a knife this thin. At first I wondered, could this just be a deburring issue? Edge sharpness, thickness behind the edge. But as testing continued, a pattern started appearing. Once the knife initially entered food, especially denser produce, resistance would begin building through the grind. That told me this was likely less about the apex itself and more about the geometry behind it. The knife feels thin at the edge, but the grind appears very flat through the blade road, and I suspect that flatter geometry is creating extra surface contact and friction once food moves deeper into the blade. That would explain why the knife enters the food cleanly but doesn't always glide through it effortlessly afterwards. Still, once through the potato skin, slicing became much easier, and using that huge aggressive tip for pull cuts, basically a guaranteed food release cheat code. I was honestly worried the weakest part of this knife would literally be the tip itself, but I learned very quickly that the tip was in fact not going to snap. A huge relief. Despite how little mass exists directly behind the tip, it never felt fragile or unstable. Let's quickly talk about this knife shape because I genuinely don't know what category this thing belongs in. This knife lives somewhere between a bunka, a seiax, and an aggressive K-tip Gyoto, but honestly, I don't think it fully belongs to any of them. The profile is extremely flat, very bunka-like, but the elongated tip gives strong Scandinavian seiax energy. Again, pierce point bunka might actually work here. Let me know what you would call it. Back to cutting. White onion slices for smash burgers, no slipping on the onion skin. Still capable of nice thin slices. But again, you can hear and feel a little extra weight and pressure through denser sections. That night, we made eggplant steaks, which is still a ridiculous name. Eggplant planks sounds better. Either way, smooth sailing here. Food stick? Yes, but easy enough to shake loose. Then came the famous carrot test. Removing larger chunks immediately confirmed there were no major wedging or cracking issues. That's important. But once we moved into denser, wider cuts, that familiar resistance returned. You can actually see my index finger curling as I apply more downward force than expected from such a thin knife. And again, I think the culprit is a combination of how flat the geometry feels higher up the grind and potential shoulders above the secondary bevel. The blade isn't wedging aggressively like a thick knife. It's more that food starts binding and dragging once enough blade surface enters the ingredient. Still, the very edge itself felt sharp enough to do a nice micro brunoise. And finally, just to test the tip strength because I had genuine concerns beforehand, I stabbed the carrot repeatedly and pulled it straight out. No flex, no instability, very impressive tip resilience. Next up, garlic, and once again, the same pattern repeated. Initial entry felt smooth, then friction increased deeper into the cut. Mandatory horizontal cut, not for cooking, strictly for testing. Geometry and drag. Then a fine dice. Could have used another horizontal cut there. At this point, I decided to quickly strop the knife just to eliminate the possibility of edge alignment or leftover burr issues. Performance improved slightly, but the overall cutting behavior remained. Next, radishes. One of my favorite ingredients to test with thin knives. A radish can absolutely expose wedging problems on poor ground blades, but here I wasn't expecting major cracking issues after seeing the carrot performance. Then came the completely unnecessary cherry tomato test. Honestly, I mainly did this for fun, and once again it reinforced the feeling that this edge didn't quite behave like the aggressive 2T1K edge I expected. Either the finish is more polished than stated, or the stones used created a different bite profile than what I would normally associate with 1K. Then cabbage, and yes, testing dense produce again on a knife already showing drag sounds silly, but sometimes ingredients surprise you. Here, trimming the cabbage was definitely a struggle. No surprise there, but because the blade profile is so flat, this thing almost behaves like a lighter, thinner Chacabocho alternative. Less blade height also means less surface contact overall compared to taller knives. Then came the real onion test. Diced red onion, because honestly, did we even test onions properly before this? The new camera angle here was fantastic, by the way. You really get to see the push slicing motion and blade interaction. But again, the pattern continued. Vertical cuts through dense onion sections struggled. Horizontal cuts showed noticeable drag. Downward cuts with less product behind the blade were totally fine. The bell pepper test though, very enjoyable, and honestly, it revealed a lot about the edge finish, especially during the stacked skin side up test where the knife still didn't behave like the aggressive 2T1K edge I expected. Or is it a sharpness issue out of the box? But overall, very fun cutter here, and thanks to the ultra flat belly profile, accordion cuts were basically non-existent. The flat profile really shines in ingredients like this. Then lemongrass. This was mainly a toughness and edge resilience test. Not an easy ingredient in hindsight because the knife is so lightweight. I probably should have cut closer to the heel for extra downward force. And finally, chicken breast. I don't care whether we call this a Gyoto, Bunka, or giant seax. It is long enough to slice protein beautifully, and honestly, this may have been the ingredient that best revealed the actual edge finish because the knife moved through the chicken extremely smoothly, reinforcing my suspicion that the edge is more refined and polished than the typical aggressive 1K bite. Before the nitpicks, who even is Brad from HandFab? I literally had never heard of him until Japanese knife sharpener on Instagram introduced us. Then within the same day, bam, he wants to work together. 3 days later, knife complete. Look, Brad only has about 1.5 years of experience making knives. But, good lord, this guy is detail obsessed, and considering how nitpicky I can be, that says a lot. Now for the nitpicks. First, Brad was so close to delivering a near flawless unboxing experience. The one tiny thing that would have elevated it from a 9 out of 10 to a 9.5, have the maker logo on the blade guard line up with the maker logo on the blade itself. That way, when you remove the blade guard, the maker's mark immediately greets you. Tiny detail, but details matter. I also think the logo itself could pop just a touch more visually against the Damascus pattern. Very small nitpick, but honestly, knowing Brad, I think and hope he'll appreciate that observation. Now for the biggest nitpick. This knife deserves better cutting performance than it currently delivers out of the box. For me personally, performance lands somewhere around the 6.5 to 7 out of 10. And the frustrating part is it feels close. The edge itself feels sharp, could be sharper, but once the food moves deeper into the blade, especially dense ingredients, friction and resistance build in rapidly. Again, I suspect the geometry is simply too flat through portions of the primary grind, creating excessive surface contact and drag once the blade sinks into the product. More importantly, there may also be a subtle shoulder developing higher in the grind, or the geometry may be thickening a little too quickly above the edge. Whatever the exact cause, the result is the same. More force required than expected from such a thin blade. And yes, I did strop the knife to rule out deburring and alignment issues. It improved slightly, but the overall behavior remained. My recommendation to makers, test your knives before shipping them. Potato for food release. Carrot for geometry and thinness behind the edge. Horizontal onion cuts for drag. Those 3 tests alone reveal a lot about performance. So who is this knife for? Easy. First, I think Brad from HandFab is absolutely one to watch. Go follow him. His social media presence alone shows how seriously he takes his craft. And this knife is for someone looking for something genuinely different. The shape is ultra unique. The tip is far tougher than it looks. The construction is beautiful. The fit and finish are excellent. The unboxing experience is phenomenal. And honestly, if Brad refines the grind geometry and improves the out-of-box cutting performance, he could be making some seriously dangerous knives in the future. I also love that the Mark I platform can be customized with premium handles and steels. That flexibility gives the buyers a lot of options. For what I received, I think the overall price point was very fair. My favorite ingredients to cut with this knife were definitely eggplant, bell pepper, and chicken. Brad, thank you again for sending over this jazzy Mark I. I'm genuinely excited to follow your journey. And for everyone else, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's go!